Much. Nearly 11 months after the Benghazi attacks and after President Obama stood in the front of the flag-draped coffins of 4 murdered Americans and vowed to bring their killers to justice, not one suspect is under arrest. Now, in a letter being drafted to the new director of the FBI, 8 Republican lawmakers are demanding aggressive steps to find the terrorist. The draft of the letter reads, quote, "It has been more than 10 months since the attacks. We appear to be no closer to knowing who was responsible today than we were in the early weeks following the attack. This is simply unacceptable." Earlier, I spoke to New Hampshire Senator Kelly Ayotte, a member of the Armed Services Committee and one of the lawmakers signing on to that letter. I asked her where we are right now in this FBI investigation.
That's the real question, because recently CNN actually was able to interview the head of Ansar al-Sharia, which is the terrorist group that claimed responsibility for the attacks on our consulate shortly after they occurred. And guess what? No one from the FBI had talked to him. No one from the Libyan authorities had talked to him. There are literally people running around Libya who have responsibility for having committed these attacks or knowledge of it, and apparently our FBI is not speaking to them. So where we are is totally unacceptable, as you've described it and what we've said in our letter, and we need answers. And with the new FBI director coming in, we expect to get answers to understand what is the FBI pursuing to hold those people who committed these horrific terrorist acts accountable.
What possible explanation can you imagine for why the FBI has not spoken to these key players?
I don't think there's any explanation that could be possible. I mean, it's just mind-boggling to me that the head of Ansar al-Sharia could be interviewed by a media organization and that the FBI hasn't spoken to him, nor have Libyan authorities. And the victims of these families, they deserve answers and justice. And what's also troubling, if you recall, Shannon, the president stood up during the presidential campaign and said that we're going to hunt these people down who committed these terrorist acts wherever they are, and that we're going to, if you mess with Americans, we're going to mess with you, and nothing has happened. So I think that this needs to be pursued, and for him obviously to refer to this as a phony scandal really is so troubling and disappointing in light of the fact that 4 brave Americans were murdered. So FBI, where have you been on this? I mean, this is basic investigation 101 in talking to the individuals on the ground in Libya.
And just days after the deaths of those 4 brave Americans, another media outlet tracked a person believed to be a key suspect in this whole thing having a fruit drink at a cafe. What has become of that person?
Again, we don't have answers on that. We don't even know at this point whether the FBI has spoken to that individual. Right now, the media has been speaking to more of the individuals that are alleged to be involved in this and to have information that we've gotten information from our FBI. And, you know, it makes me wonder at this point, are people not pursuing answers to this investigation? That's why we need to get to the bottom of it. We have a new FBI director coming in, and so we need an update on this investigation, and we need them to vigorously pursue this and make sure that we bring those killers to justice.
And a number of times when there's been questioning of different members of the administration, those who've been called before the Hill and in other settings, they've often deferred and said they couldn't speak on this because there was an ongoing FBI investigation. So we know something is going on. You've asked the new FBI director to give you a status report within about 30 days. What do you expect to hear?
What I would hope to hear, Shannon, is, you know, these are who we've interviewed. These are the potential suspects in the case. Some of it obviously may have to be shared in a classified setting, but we need an update at this point to know. I think what the big warning sign was is when people who are being interviewed that are part of Ansar al-Sharia that the FBI has not spoken to, that raises huge flags. And so we need to make sure that they are pursuing this investigation vigorously. And the fact that no one has been held accountable almost 11 months later is completely wrong. I feel for the victims, the family members who lost loved ones on that day, and they deserve answers and justice.
And what is the message that's sent to those family members who lost someone, those who were very critically injured, some of them still working and fighting back to recover from their injuries? What is the